Father Hehir?
Yes. Who are you?
I represent the Catholic militants of Boston.
I am just a simple priest. What do you want?
We have been watching you for some time. I want to talk to you today about your recent comments at Boston College on Catholic conscience exemptions. As you have done for most of the past 40 years, you muddied the waters with verbal gymnastics. You never said a word about the evil of abortion, and you redefined what a conscience exemption means.
What you say is untrue, degrading, and defamatory.
See for yourself in the video.
But the concept of an exemption can be put relatively simply. A religious or conscience-based exemption is a law, regulation, or judicial ruling that exempts someone from a rule or law that would otherwise apply to everyone for reasons related to moral or religious conviction. Do religious people and institutions deserve special treatment or accommodation because they're religious? Some Catholic Church leaders in this country fought the Senate version of healthcare reform legislation out of a fear that it might allow federal funding for abortion-related services. But there are a host of related issues that I'm sure Father Hehir will discuss for us this evening.
I begin with the question, why now? Why would there be a panel on religious exemptions / conscience causes? Eric has defined what we mean by religious exemptions or conscience causes. Essentially, to paraphrase a definition that is offered in the Hastings Center, a conscience clause is a standard of civil law which protects the right of a professional or an institution from performing a legal act because of either personal, moral, religious convictions. The question is not a new question in the United States, but I think the why now, the reason we're here, is that conscience clauses have become acute, if you will. They have become a disputed element in principle, at least as I understand it. As Eric indicated, the Catholic Church by definition gets touched by this precisely because if you have 600 hospitals, 175 Catholic Charities chapters around the country, you are going to run up against these kinds of tensions as you try to provide a public service, but don't always live under laws that you necessarily agree with. My sense is that in terms of choosing our future on this question, we need to ask the question, what could be lost if we can't find a fair adjudication of this issue? The issue by definition is shot through with tension. If you think of the conscience clause protecting the professional, then you have to think about access to service on the part of clients of various kinds, patients or clients in social service agencies.
You just said you have to think about access to service on the part of clients and patients. This service means abortions. The Catechism, Pope, and teaching authority of the Church clearly oppose the killing of the innocent unborn. So why do we, the Catholic Church, have to be concerned with how the client will get access to abortion services?
No comment.
So there's inevitably going to be a balancing in the resolution of this question. What could be lost if we don't do this well? My sense is what could be lost on the one hand is a damage to the professions involved. What also could be lost would be this characteristic of the social system where it is pervaded by nonprofits, almost in a de Tocquevillian way of using a pluralism of actors in the system. My general sense is that unless we choose well on this, we could harm the profession, the social system, and clearly if we don't choose well, we could harm the individual who needs precisely the services.
Father Hehir, which individual are you concerned about harming who needs this service? Are you concerned about harming the woman who needs to have her baby aborted? Or were you referring to the unborn child who needs to be killed?
No comment.
So to conclude, my basic position is that conscience clauses provide an essential political legal component to adjudicate deeply held positions and convictions in this pluralistic society. I think the resolution of the issue requires defining the issues broadly. Pay attention to all the actors, their beliefs, their interests, and the duties involved, and recognize that conscience clauses will limit the rights of others to some degree. So then the question becomes, how do you deal with that tension and limitation? I think conscience clauses should be claimed only for essential issues, not capaciously, if you will. And I think, on the other hand, those who find conscience clauses difficult to accept ought to ask the question about what happens if the very idea of conscience clauses is eroded. And the effect of that outcome could well be that you use the power of the law to drive a wedge between professionals' deepest convictions on the one hand and their ability to provide effective public service on the other.